Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am Ratwan Hill, and I am with Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, how you doing this lovely
I'm
Monday?
well. I'm well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get right into this. I want to talk about the National Defense Authorization Act. It's officially been approved, and it's a focus on building the supply chain building our industrial base, including our supply chain resiliency. We have semiconductor manufacturing. Um, in your words, could you tell me why in this time period right now, why is it such a focus on these components?
Well, you simply need look at the national security strategy that the White House issued a few days ago, which hyper focuses on reindustrialization. Right, it hyper focuses on reshoring manufacturing and reducing our reliance on bad actors or even foreign adversaries. And so there is a hyper focus on America first, and that requires us to correct some of the ills that we are experiencing from some bad policy decisions of the past, like NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was the brain fart that caused us to ship all of our manufacturing capability to other countries with the idea that we could survive as a financial or an intellectual society. So the bottom line, or should I say the net answer to your question, is it's become clear that we have to control our own destiny by being makers of things. And America is getting back in the business of making things again so that those words I grew up cherishing, made in America, can have the meaning they once enjoyed.
Mhm. Absolutely. What was the initial reason why we were outsourcing all of our manufacturing from other countries? Was it a cost thing?
Follow the money. Right? That's all you got to do is follow the money, right? And I don't want to tilt into politics, and I don't want to tilt into conspiracy theories and all of that kind of good garbage. But we do have the benefit of hindsight now, right? And we do have the ability to do the tombstone view on some of these policies like NAFTA. And you can clearly see that it has left America in a more vulnerable position. So we're apparently trying to break the cycle of insanity there, and I think we need to consider breaking the cycle of insanity in this other area, in this acquisition area, where we look to be trying to retread or repeat some ills of the past. Yet I digress.
Mhm, mhm. For all the veterans that's listening, when you say industrial base, are we talking about making things, moving things, protecting networks, or all of the above? Could you explain that?
Well, when you think about the national security of the nation, it's made up of more than just bullets and bombs, right? It's made up of all of the systems and interdependent networks that operate to make America what America is, right? That country that you want to live in, right? That shiny nation on a hill. And so when those systems break down, when we no longer have access to that equilibrium, the balance of number of workers versus payment versus putting those dollars back into the economy so that you have vibrant downtowns, right? You have walkable communities. You have hope. When you take those kinds of capabilities out of a system, you have the ability to see what it produces. That's where we're at right now. We have the benefit of seeing the hindsight of the decision of NAFTA, just like we're going to have in the future the ability to see the hindsight of this decision to move towards tariffs. Right now, the report card on NAFTA is that it wasn't a good idea, which causes me to suggest that we need to take a close look at what we're doing currently so that we don't find ourselves back here again then.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've seen this you've seen these past cycles happen before. When Washington starts funding domestic capacity at this level, what usually happens next in contracting? What does this mean for all the vendors?
Can you clarify the question? I want to make sure that I answer the question you're asking.
Yes, sir. When DC, when the government is starting to push money into these areas, logistics, the supply chain, into chips, what does this mean from a federal contractor standpoint?
Well, I may not be answering the question that you're asking, but what we see in this effort to reindustrialize the United States, right, and shore up our defense industrial base is equally a huge money grab as they attempt to centralize acquisition, right? So they're moving acquisition from one configuration to another configuration. And in this new configuration, they're going to be winners and losers. In my humble opinion, there are going to be a lot of big business winners and a lot of small business losers. And I, as Mr. Hill indicated, pointed out the fact that we as a nation have seen this kind of action before in a movie in the past, and it didn't work out well for America. And so I would encourage us to, like we talked about the NAFTA, need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit before we jump into the decision. Like we're dealing with our tariff issues. The Supreme Court will be ruling on that one in the not too distant future. I'm urging caution as opposed to being robust. In this particular area as well, we've got a situation where we have a huge movement of money, and I believe that our large businesses are utilizing their invisible hand behind the scenes to orchestrate this outcome. And as a result, our small business owners, our veteran business owners, need to pay close attention. You are on today's menu.
What behaviors are being rewarded right now in the federal contracting landscape, and what are being punished?
We don't know, and so there are a lot of people out there that are, prognosticating on, you should be doing, focusing on 8A, or you should be doing this in this season right now. We don't know, right? The educated acquisition professional knows that our acquisition system is in a state of flex, right? And it's in a state of flex because somebody came down with a hammer and banged it. Right. And until it starts to come back together, until it starts coalescing, we're not going to understand whether or not this consolidation under the government's purchasing agent means that only those people that have access, right, those people that won a seat on the category management contract or won a seat on the mandatory contract are the only ones that have access, and therefore the rest of the federal contracting community is asked out, which I think would be a violation of fair competition. So at this particular point, it's kind of difficult to, point to where things are going until we kind of see how things are going to coalesce. And I, for one, have been sounding the alarm that suggests that we need to stop this aggressive movement towards centralization. It is making our nation less safe. So the powers that be, right? Mr. President, read my lips. The centralization of acquisition is a threat to our national security, and you can do yourself and our nation a service by issuing an executive order reversing that action.
Okay, so what should we be doing during this time, right? In this state of flux, what should we be? Should we just be strategizing? You know, should we be like what should we be doing right now?
So, monsieur, parlez-vous français? Who are the we you're talking about?
When I say we, I mean the federal contractors. You know, that's federal contractors in 1102 community. What should everybody be doing in this state of flux right now? Is it, getting together to figure out how to not centralize contracts? Is it okay? Well, this is going to happen. We need to work with the flow and not against it. Well, what should we be doing as from the federal government standpoint as a whole, contractors and 1102?
I think we need to rightly define the art of the possible. That's what we need to be doing right now. Like, what is really viable? What is possible? And focus our efforts and attention down that particular path or lane. We are at a place where we've reached a critical inflection point. Right? Andy Grove defines that point in the migration or the life cycle of a business, product, or organization as a point at which value inflow has ceased. And therefore, those organizations at that intersection have to find a way to create new value inflow into their enterprises, or they risk value outflow, additional value outflow, and obsolescence, right? We are at that critical inflection point right now as small businesses. And what I'm suggesting is that before we allow this policy to move any further, we arrest it. Right? Let's stop it, right? Let's stop it, and let's slow down, and let's take some time to decide what's in the utilitarian interest, what's in the best interest for the masses, right? We're in a position right now where technology can cause us to move towards singularity at a pace that's not in mankind's best interest. And so just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should do it, right? And we gotta look at the trends that are occurring and ask ourselves as human beings whether or not these actions are in our best interest. Like, for example, a scenario where we go from concern about how fossil fuels are creating global warming and the like to a reckless abandon approach towards creating as much energy as possible in order to fuel AI at any cost. The change in that psychological and that philosophical position is a hairpin turn. And the reason for that hairpin turn has to be investigated. Now, I'm a individual that has been trained as a forensic accountant, so I always look at the situational awareness from a totally different perspective. But that's what we need to be doing right now. We need to be identifying that you are here point and making right-minded decisions. And those right-minded decisions are the things that are in the best interest of mankind, the best interest of the human race, the best interest of your children and my children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another thing in the this wasn't National Defense Authorization Act, excuse me, but I believe in November, that's when they made the cybersecurity maturity model certification mandatory. From your perspective, is this the way for a government to essentially filter out the fraudulent, the sloppy, or is this another mechanism that shut out small businesses essentially?
Yeah, it's a management tool, right? And used properly, it actually creates a level of performance that's standardized.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, these kinds of ISOs and CMIN certifications have been used to pick winners and losers. And I believe that in addition to creating standards, those systems those systems will reorder the deck, right? It will reprioritize the players in the system.
What can small businesses do to overcome that obstacle, or is it, or they're asked out?
No, study yourself, approve,
Mm-hmm.
right? Become what's viable for today's market,
Mm-hmm.
right? Leave antiquated operating systems, leave antiquated approaches behind, and do what's appropriate for today, right? I mean, if that's basically what it is, right? Stop holding on to Jurassic strategies that don't work in this environment, right? If you're a MWBE, right? Wake up and smell the coffee, right? Okay. Change has to come, right? And proactively do the things that you need to do to create a succession plan so that you can keep and insulate the things that you have acquired. Simple.
Absolutely. What's you know what's the winning theme for fiscal year 26? What's going to be the differentiator for small businesses during this season?
Proper planning.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 P's, right? 2026 is going to be the year that you plan for the windfall. And everything that's happening is occurring along that timeline. And if you didn't read Agenda 2025, go back and read it, right? Go back and look at, what gates they're operating against, and look at how they implemented some of their early policies, like the policies under the big, beautiful bill, like the opportunity zone policy that kicks off in 2027, right? So 2026, they're going to be picking the opportunity zones, right? So it's 2026. Smart money is planning ahead of where those opportunity zones are migrating, and they're putting together strategies to optimize investments that would occur against that. So my very simple my very simple recommendation right now is, get your feces amalgamated. That's what I like to say. This is the season for you to do planning. Get your feces amalgamated so that you can move into 2027 razor sharp and tiger tough. And you guys may notice that, I'm not talking from a transactional perspective, right? I'm already talking about 2027, right? Because what we're in isn't a sprint, right? This is a marathon, right? We're seeing a major transition of power and wealth that's occurring in the ether. And there will be new winners and losers as a result of this change. Trust and believe that.
Mm-hmm. You brought up about the opportunity zone, and that's coming online in 2027. For the individuals who may not be aware of opportunity zone, could you just give a little bit of background of what opportunity zone is and what it can mean for our community?
Yeah, so opportunity zones came out of the first President Trump tax cuts. And what that was a program that was designed to hyper focus investment in underserved communities. And so the theory was that there was a whole lot of capital gain that occurred during the dot-com season, and when our friends in Silicon Valley were creating all of these applications that were changing the world, that couldn't get into the economy because it was trapped behind a capital gain wall, which had a tax consequence, right? You take your stock and you cash it in, you got to pay taxes. So they came up with a program to provide tax relief to those trillions of dollars that were trapped behind the capital gains wall in the form of a opportunity zone program. And the way the program works, they had a business track, or they have a business track, and they have a real estate track. And so in these communities that have been designated as opportunity zones, you as an investor were able to take your capital gain investment and you were able to invest it in the opportunity zone and defer the tax consequence. That was the first event that was powerful. So you deferred the tax consequence on your capital gain investment. The investment that you made in the opportunity zone grows tax-free, right? So that's the other big issue. You take $100,000, you put it in the opportunity zone, it grows to $100 million. When your family takes it out, they pay no taxes on it, right? So that's one of the mad incentives. But the other mad incentive was to take the tax obligation that you have on your capital gains and reduce it, right? There was a step up in basis and all kind of shenanigans that were built or are built into the program to mitigate your tax liability for participating in the Opportunity Zone program. So it is an investment program that's designed to hyper focus and target underserved communities for business and real estate investments.
Absolutely. What has been some best use cases you have seen come out of the Opportunity Zone?
I'm biased, right? And so the best use case I saw that came out of the last iteration of the program was the veteran victory villages, right? That my friend Kim Cooley has been driving. She actually was able to get some $40+ million to build a 250 plus housing complex in Colorado that was affordable housing, or not was, it is affordable housing for veterans, and it's a mixed use facility. So there are business assets along with the housing assets as well as counseling and the like. And so that Veteran Victory Villages is a holistic community that is designed to give him and her who bore the battle a good, strong, good quality community to live in. And let's just face it, right? You know, if you've ever been in the service, you kind of miss the camaraderie that you enjoyed in your military community, right? You know, you missed your buddy system and all of the other, you know, natural organic community events that occurred because you all had a common ethos. You had a common value system, right? You were governed by the rules and regulations that you respected, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And so that environment for many of us that came from inner city streets that were tough, right? It was the first opportunity we got a chance to exhale, right? To play like a kid again. And so when we hear things like veteran victory villages growing up somewhere, we seek those places out to take not just our benefits and our assets, but our ingenuity. So your question was, what was the best use case I saw come out of the last tranche and iteration of the Opportunity Zone? It was the investment in the Veteran Victory Villages and that mixed use facility in Colorado. Kim Cooley, shout out, look her up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so with using that as an example, and you said it was in Colorado, did they only do it in Colorado, or was it other locations? Is that something we could replicate across the whole United States?
You know, and this is just another, you know, selfless plug and shout out for a person that's helping veteran. But Kim had, if I remember correctly, 12 different projects on her roadmap Colorado was one of them. And so the opportunity for those of you who want to invest with Kim, go look Kim Cooley up, because I'm certain that as those opportunity zones come online in 2027, she's going to give you the first mover's advantage on some really high quality investments. And I mean, and let's just face it, right? Our veterans, if they're disabled, right, they have a consistent stream of income. I mean, it's one of the better real estate investments you can contemplate. Let me just say it that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's something that excites me. And just imagining being in a veteran community where you're also a veteran-owned business that's intertwined with other veteran-owned business owners. We talk about building a whole veteran ecosystem.
You know, and I'm in the process of driving something like that, because I believe that we are in a we the people season where the people have to take control of their own destiny, right? We can't rely on our politicians, right? We can't rely on our elected officials to do the right things, to bring goods and services to the square at a fair and reasonable price. So we are going to have to engage, and we're going to have to take control of the power of the purse where possible. And our easiest pathway to taking control of the power of the purse is becoming the preferred supplier to the federal government. And so if you are a veteran or disabled veteran, hear me now when I say America wants you to be rich. I said that some months ago, and I said if that were true, there would be evidence. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to show you the evidence that points to the fact that this dismantling DEI thing has made you the preferred safe harbor for contracts in this season. And if that wasn't enough to create an advantage for you, this 8A audit, where they are shaking out fraud, waste, and abuse players out of the 8A program, is creating point-in-time opportunities where 10 million, 20 million, $100 million contracts are going to have to be novated or moved over to another vendor. So this is the season for we the people to get our feces amalgamated so that we can stand in the front of the firing line as this transition occurs, and we can cherry pick the opportunities that we want to bring into a relationship with our community.
Indeed, indeed. With all the disruptions, resiliency is very significant during this time, especially during the shutdown. And even before the shutdown, we had colleagues of ours saying that, that they submitted 20, 30 bids, and, they were still waiting to receive an award or any type of notification. So my question is, what does resiliency actually mean in GovCon? Is it just having cash on hand, lines of credit, diversified customers, or the right partners?
Well, resiliency is having enough resources in reserve to withstand the drought. That's what resiliency is, right? Resiliency is, not having been the baller shot caller with all of the merch and, the unnecessary stuff that made no money for your business. And now when you need a bridge over the river DEI, you can't find one because, you were baller shot caller. So resilience literally simply means having the resources necessary to withstand the economic downturn. And if you don't have them, you have to beg, borrow.
What's the number one mistake you see veteran businesses making right before a downturn?
I haven't seen very many economic downturns, right? I've just been doing this, since they passed the the law. So I haven't seen anything like what we're facing right now. And
So you're saying that this is a completely different animal that we're dealing with right now? Like this is just something different.
this is different. This is completely different. There is a wholesale change in the theater. And folks, I've seen it, right? I've seen everything from the onset of federal strategic sourcing to category. I've seen a lot in acquisition, right? I haven't seen anything that had this uniform on, that had this color of clothing. It is scary, and there are those out there who should be saying something that aren't saying something, and I'm concerned even more about that, right? There's an 1102 community out there that knows what's going on. They know what's coming, but they're not saying anything, and I'm concerned about that. I think I understand why, right? To get punched in the nose and punched in the gut the way the contracting community was punched in the gut by the executive order 14240. Yeah, I mean that was painful, and then to watch their colleagues, both their subordinates that didn't have time in service, as well as their support systems in places like the offices of small and disadvantaged business utilization, walked out of the agencies, right? It put those people in the 1102 community in a position where they were concerned. They were, dare I say, scared. Well, that time has passed, right? We have absorbed the shock, and we know what it is. Now it's time to say something. It's time to actually say something and do something, right? We have a situation that is making you, your children, and me less safe because we have I'm not going to step into the politics. We have a policy that is designed to do something that we have history on. We know what happens when you centralize in this way. So let's get some adults at the table, right? Can Congress wake up and grow a pair, right? Can the House and the Senate wake up and rein in this bad activity? If not, then you and me, we the people, that's my 2026 charge, right? My New Year's resolution is to take no prisoners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For your final words before we bring this to a close, what's your marching order for veteran-owned businesses this week if they want to be positioned as a national security asset?
Learn how to become a bigger small business. That's it. Learn how to become a bigger small business. Now, I know you can acquire that understanding if you secure the cotton method. And so you can surf out to my website and take advantage of the next class that's coming up in February. But that would be the thing that you could do right now, because it's the bigger small businesses that are going to hold sway in this season. They will be the bridge that the agency needs to get over the hangover that's going to result from this unique party, this unique kind of party we're having.
Absolutely. So you guys, you heard it here first. You need to become a bigger small business, get acclimated to what's with the changes. You can learn that by joining the next cohort for the cotton method. We'll catch you guys Wednesday. I am Ratwan Hill, and that is Mr. Walter Cotton III.
Wait a second now. Wednesday's gonna be Christmas Eve, right? We're gonna sacrifice our Christmas Eve, and yes, we are. We'll see you guys Wednesday.
Yes, sir.